I'll defend him. You could feel every eye in the courtroom swing in one motion, searching for the source of that voice, steady, unbothered, with a sharp edge that seemed to cut through the murmurs. And there she was, apron strings still tied around her waist, sweat beading on her brow, a battered folder clutched to her chest. Some folks laughed right away, a few scoffed, and of course, you had the ones reaching for their phones to grab a video because what's a little courtroom drama without a viral moment? Who is she? Someone whispered from the gallery. Probably just the cleaning lady. Yeah, that happened. Sometimes people's imaginations just aren't that creative. But Maya Johnson didn't budge. Now, Maya, at 25, was no stranger to being underestimated, but standing in front of Manhattan's legal elite, she felt the sting in a whole new way. The judge's face went slack, caught completely off guard. "Excuse me, miss?" She straightened her shoulders, met his gaze, and answered, "Maya Johnson, Your Honor. I'd like to stand as temporary counsel for Mr. Douglas Walker." If you'd been there, you would have felt the air shift. Walker, that infamous tech billionaire, sitting under federal investigation for contract fraud and enough financial misconduct to make headlines for weeks. His fancy legal team? Vanished. His star attorney, gone on the day of the hearing, rumor had it he'd caught a plane somewhere far from the heat. And here sat Douglas Walker, glaring at Maya like she'd shown up to mow his lawn in a ball gown. "You should be home scrubbing baseboards, not playing dress-up in court," he growled, and the gallery ate it up. Maya just exhaled, stepping forward. "I've studied every page of this case, every contract, every record, every single testimony. I know this case better than anyone here." The judge frowned. "Miss Johnson, are you a licensed attorney?" "No, sir. I studied law at Columbia, had to leave after my second year, money trouble. Been working as household staff ever since to pay off my family's debts, but I never stopped learning. I've read federal court decisions, followed cases just like this. This case, I know it backward and forward." In the room, which had only moments ago been so ready to laugh, suddenly leaned in. The prosecutor, Lauren West, a sharp, tall blonde in a suit you could probably pay rent with, stood, objecting. "This is highly irregular. It's an insult to the system." The judge just noted. But as Mr. Walker's counsel failed to appear, "And if he allows Miss Johnson to speak for him, I'll permit it under supervision." Douglas grumbled, "You want me to trust a maid to save me?" Maya leaned in, her voice low. "I may not have a license, but I'm the only person here not trying to bury you." That line landed. "You know what I mean?" He threw up his hands. "Fine. Do your worst." She laid out her folder, handwritten notes, highlighted passages, actual cross-referenced case law, and Lauren tried to rattle her. "Hope you brought more than highlighters and grocery lists." Maya met her eyes, calm as a Sunday morning. "I brought logic and receipts." You could hear the oxygen leave the room. She started with the paper trail, the supposed fraudulent contract revision signed from Zurich, not New York, and evidence that the forged document was actually still valid under the original SEC filing. If anyone had played dirty, it wasn't Walker. As she spoke, you saw the gallery shift, their attention snagged by the certainty in her voice, the way she didn't stumble. Even the judge looked interested, and by the end of her rundown, he announced a recess to review her evidence. Back home that night, Maya sat at her little kitchen table in Newark, half-eaten sandwich, court files, and her old laptop streaming a lecture from a law professor she used to admire. The phone buzzed, a blocked call. "You shook the room today," a stranger's voice said, low and dangerous. "Careful where you stick the stick. Some bears don't like being poked." She hung up, hands trembling, but fear was nothing new. You grow up watching eviction notices pile up. You learn how to live with it. The next day, she was back at the Walker estate confronting Douglas. "Someone's framing you. That contract revision? The language is off. Too European." He shrugged. "I sign what my assistant Paul preps for me. Paul's gone now, left a month back." That was the thread Maya needed. She tracked Paul's last known address, found his office empty except for a pile of discarded contract drafts, some with Zurich metadata, some Jersey. Her stomach flipped. She clung to those clues and the next morning, in court, laid out everything. The different metadata, the altered language, a chain of custody report from a digital forensics firm. Lauren's composure cracked. "I request a delay. Need to verify the evidence," she snapped. Maya calmly countered, "Verification's already done." After court, Maya's apartment felt less safe. Anonymous threats. Break-ins meant to scare, not to steal. Still, she didn't stop. Each setback was fuel. She linked the contract edits to Paul Temple, who'd recently received a fat wire transfer to a Swiss account, traceable back to the plaintiff's general counsel, Martin Lai. The web widened, implicating powerful players with too much to lose. But Maya wasn't alone. Reggie, an old law school friend turned investigative reporter, ran background on Lai. Elise, a junior associate at Alter Holdings, risked everything to testify that internal emails were altered and pressure applied to force Walker out. And in a diner lit by neon and hope, Maya realized her fight had become something much bigger, not just for Douglas, but for every worker silenced by the weight of money and power. The pressure on Alter Holdings grew, shareholder panic, SEC investigations, senior lawyers fleeing. In the courtroom, Maya stood steady as ever, producing new evidence, emails, wire transfers, whistleblower testimony. She called out the lie in public, risking everything. And the judge listened, ultimately dismissing the case, referring it for federal prosecution. But here's the real twist, and maybe you saw it coming, maybe you didn't. After the case, Maya didn't run for cover or cash in. She launched the People's Law Project, turning her hard-won spotlight into free legal support for the overlooked and unheard. Her mural, Her in Her Apron, showed up in Harlem, captioned, "She didn't ask for permission." And as the world argued about whether what she'd done was right, just, disruptive, or reckless, Maya kept working, drafting laws, helping the next Cassandra, the next janitor or cook or clerk with a story to tell. Because justice, she learned, wasn't a single fight. It was a living thing built day by day, in courtrooms and kitchens, on broken systems and stubborn hope. So, let's open it up. Was Maya right to break the rules for justice? Did the ends justify the means? Or did she just stir up more trouble? Share your thoughts down below. Where does courage end and recklessness begin? In a world where power bends the law, what would you have done? Let's talk about justice, community, and the real cost of silence. You know, after that storm in court, you'd think things might calm down, at least for a second. But life doesn't work like a courtroom drama where the credits roll when justice gets served. The headlines, the cameras, all those online think pieces dissecting the cleaning lady who took down a billion-dollar empire. They were just the start. For Maya, it was like the whole world suddenly noticed she existed, but they still didn't know her name. Not really. The days right after the trial were a blur. Calls from journalists, invitations to talk shows, her inbox overflowing with everything from job offers to hate mail. The city treated her like a celebrity, but you could tell some folks were only waiting for her to trip up, to prove she was just a fluke, a symbol that would fade. You ever get used to being watched? She asked Reggie one night over greasy fries and black coffee at their usual spot. He grinned. Maybe you just learned to wear it like a coat. Maya laughed, but she didn't feel lighter. And it's funny, now Douglas Walker, the man whose fortune and freedom she'd just salvaged, wanted her advice on everything. He'd show up at her cramped apartment with folders and questions, even once bringing a bottle of wine as if that would make the fluorescent lights and peeling paint look fancier. I've rehired my team, cleaned house. But, Maya, I can't go back to how things were. Not after what I've seen. She watched him pace, and for the first time, she believed him. Sometimes, falling changes you for good. But if you think Maya had time to celebrate, think again. The threats got more creative. Anonymous notes, strangers lurking too long near her building, a shadow in her hallway that never quite disappeared. Elise, the whistleblower, was living out of a suitcase, her father's dry cleaning shop still bearing scars from the break-in. Even Reggie caught someone tailing him near the subway. They're scared, Maya said, her voice steady. Scared people make mistakes. So, she doubled down. Every night, she pieced together documents, mapping out not just Alter Holdings, but the web of shell companies, law firms, and fixers that made their brand of corruption possible. She started connecting with janitors, secretaries, kitchen staff, all those folks who saw everything and were paid to keep quiet. You don't have to shout to be heard, she'd say. You just have to find the right listener. And stories poured in. Unpaid wages, bogus contracts, threats whispered in office corridors. that's when the project started for real. Maya turned her living room into a war room. A dry erase board covered in names and arrows, color-coded by risk and connection. Volunteers dropped by with donated laptops, and soon the People's Law Project was real, a place where workers could get answers, advice, even a little hope. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. Meanwhile, Alter Holdings was falling apart. Their board meetings leaked, stock plummeted, and every time the media mentioned the case, investors got jittery. One morning, Lauren West, the prosecutor who tried to sink Maya in court, requested a private meeting. She showed up out of breath, less polished than usual. They're coming after everyone who spoke up. You need to be careful. This is bigger than one lawsuit. She slid a flash drive across the table, hands shaking. Proof of witness intimidation. Use it. Then she was gone. Reggie was thrilled. This is the nail in their coffin. But Maya just felt tired. They'll just grow a new head, she muttered. It's the system, not the snake. Still, she sent copies to federal investigators and made sure her team had everything backed up and encrypted. You trust the feds? Elise asked. Maya shrugged. I trust sunlight. And right now, they hate the light more than anything. But you know what really changed Maya's life? Not the case, not the media circus. It was a quiet Saturday morning, weeks after the verdict, when her mother called from Georgia. Baby, your uncle's church watched you on TV last night. Even the pastor cried. Maya nearly laughed. Her mother, who'd once begged her to quit law school, now bragged to neighbors she had a daughter famous for being stubborn. That afternoon, Maya sat with a group of teens in Harlem, telling them how she'd failed out, started over, learned law from the back row, from library books and late-night YouTube lectures. Doesn't matter where you start, she said. It matters who you become when no one's watching. A girl in a faded hoodie raised her hand. But what if no one believes you? Maya knelt, so their eyes met. Then you believe yourself double. That's how you begin. As the People's Law Project grew, Maya hired former clients as staff. Folks who knew what it meant to fall through cracks. She lobbied city council for worker protections, wrote op-eds about systemic abuse, and kept refusing TV interviews, except for one, an old black radio show her dad used to listen to. You want justice to last? She told the host. Teach people how to fight for themselves. One voice at a time. But not everything was victory laps. Maya's apartment got broken into again. Her laptop was stolen, files rifled, but nothing leaked. She realized then she'd crossed a line, no going back. She moved in with Elise for a while, kept her routines tight, never walked the same street 2 days in a row. She was tired, always tired, but never alone. And then, out of nowhere, Douglas called. Alter Holdings is offering a settlement. Big money. Walk away, keep quiet, sign an NDA. He sounded hopeful, like maybe Maya would finally choose rest. She listened, let him talk. Then, softly, I didn't start this for money, Douglas. I started because they thought we wouldn't fight back. Let them keep their cash. I want change. The next week, the headlines changed too. People's Law Project blocks unfair firings. Former Maid becomes city's worker advocate. And quietly, almost unnoticed, a bill to expand whistleblower protections started moving through the state legislature, with Maya's language, Maya's fire, written right in. But the best part? One chilly autumn evening, as Maya left her office, a little boy tugged her sleeve. Are you the apron lady? He asked. She knelt, smiled. Guess I am. He grinned, missing 2 front teeth. My mom says you make bullies scared. Maya laughed, a deep, tired, joyful sound, and ruffled his hair. Your mom's right. And you know what? I think you're going to do it too someday. That night, as she sat by her window, city lights flickering like distant stars, Maya realized, maybe there's no end to the fight, but there is hope in every round. She closed her eyes, whispered thanks to every mentor, every late-night doubt, every kitchen she ever scrubbed. Because justice, like her father always said, is a stubborn thing. And Maya Johnson? She was done waiting for permission. So now, I gotta ask, what would you do if no one handed you a seat at the table? Would you walk away or drag your own chair into the room? Drop your answer below. Because this fight, it's bigger than any one person. It's all of us, together, learning how to speak and, more importantly, how to listen.